Hi, good afternoon. Welcome back to Leadership Lunch Chat. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Amy and I are excited to get back started. It's almost like we're starting from scratch. We've had a couple weeks off from this, but this is an opportunity for us to talk about what we foresee maybe in 2021, how it started off for us, and anything that we would really like to maybe call to leadership in 2021, put out there into the universe for other leaders. So Amy, I'm going to start with you.
Well, great. I am happy to be back with you, Jennifer. So good to see your face again. And hopefully we'll hear from everyone listening as well. I've already started the year doing a lot of planning with firms and firm owners, entrepreneurs. And one thing I'm definitely seeing as a trend is not pausing to create a vision. And so, that has been a lot of what I've been trying to get across in the last few weeks as we get started with this with the people that I work with, is really stepping back to create a higher level strategic vision of what you want your firm to look like in the future. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a bigger firm, it really doesn't matter. But flying by the seat of our pants, worked last year because we didn't know what the future was going to look like. But there are things we know now. And it is really important that we take this time to pause before things get busy again, so that everybody in the firm can also align to objectives that we create as a vision, know that things are going to change, that things are going to get better, because I feel like there's a lot of unrest and doubt that things will get better. And so that communication of a vision and how everybody lines up to it is going to be really key as you get your year started.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that, there are a lot of things that we did opportunistically or reactively last year, like the move to remote, let's say, that, it's no longer this temporary situation and we can't really operate for the next 6 months if we're forced into this remote or blended environment to keep acting like it's temporary or treating it like it's this emergency thing we did. It's actually the state of the way that we run the business. And so just having a vision for that and identifying your top 3 priorities and how we're going to communicate and collaborate better and make sure our people are okay. And if there are any adjustments we need to make to technology or whatever it is, investments, to just recognize that we're still in the pandemic. And so there are still like pandemic hangover elements that are going to be influencing our businesses in 2021. And we shouldn't treat them the way we did in 2020, which was like adapting. Now we need to figure out how to capitalize, if we could, how to turn them into strengths, that sort of thing. And it's not just remote work. It's today the new PPP Wave 2 opened up, the application for that. And, I hope that firms created more of a strategy for how they were going to handle it and more consistency across the various service lines and partners, so that we didn't handle this like a silo-based program where we all sort of figure out how to handle it with our clients separately and differently and inconsistently, and maybe not all monetize on it in the same way, and that sort of thing. So that's another example of something last time that was the wild, wild west that we could potentially try to get a hold of and run a little bit more strategically and with some vision for how to make it better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just one thing you said, want to kind of reiterate, is 3 things, because I think, when we start setting priorities, it can get out of control. There's so many things that need help, and there's a difference between what we need to do in the next 12 months versus what we need to do in the next 5 years. And when we think of those 3 things, the PPP2 is a great example of something we do know that is happening. And so as you start revving up to either do that as an entrepreneur yourself or for your clients, it's important to review how you went about it last year, what didn't work, what did work, and what would you like to do different going forward. And I think one big learning that I had watching firms go about PPP, some took a wait and see approach and was like, well, you didn't call me.
Right.
And so,
Yes.
like, you should have called me and I could have gotten you help, instead of like, okay, let's divide the client list right now. Who's calling who's tracking who, being proactive so that you can explain what needs to be done and like get it like a machine. And that truly is what an advisor is. It's not sitting back and being reactive to who's going to call you and then getting mad if they didn't call.
Or letting them get mad they didn't call.
Well, right. But a small business only knows what they know.
Right.
And, I was just on a call yesterday talking about, my topic, Cherished Advisor, and the person on the phone was like, could you talk to my accountant about how to do that? I can't get my accountant to, communicate with me and so forth. And it's so frustrating of how much we've talked about being this proactive thing. But in order to be proactive, you have to create space. And creating space means looking at your calendar and saying, what hours each day am I going to spend being proactive and making sure that my clients are being served right now in their biggest time of need so they don't go out of business.
Yeah. Well, and being proactive, I mean, I think, if I really think about most of our clients, not all of them, but most of them, for firm leaders, they got beat up pretty good in 2020, and they ran their businesses in a feeling of being, out of capacity and reactive as heck. So if we, it's one thing to say be proactive, and another thing to sort of stop and say, how can you do that? And I was writing my first blog of the year last night, and I'm also like praying about and thinking about my 3 words that will guide Jennifer, not just the convergence strategies, but the Jennifer strategies. And in my blog, I was writing about, there are things I want to do proactively, but I have to make space in my life to do them. I don't have any space to fit in proactive things. So I was writing about how my partner Tamara and I had joked that one of the 3 words for convergence should be merciless this year. And I don't like that word, but I keep using it since we made the joke, because I need to be merciless in my hacking away at things in my life and in my business that no longer serve me, or that just don't work in comparison to some of the things we want to do. And so part of what has to happen to get to that proactive space for a lot of firms, you probably need to cull some clients. You probably need to, if you don't cull clients, you need to shift projects, or certainly we all can delegate and leverage better and more as firm leaders, for sure. And we've got comments coming in from all parts, including my daughter Della.
Your daughter's supporting you.
Della, hi, Brandon. Thank you for commenting today. We love that you're here with us. So you've got to be merciless in this pursuit of space, and the only way that you make space is either by stopping something or moving it. One of those are your 2 choices to make room for proactivity. And proactivity doesn't mean proactive in all things. It means pick a couple things to be proactive on that are in line with what you most want. They're in line with what your clients most need. They're in line with what your talent is telling you they need. Whatever those 2 or 3 things are for 2021, and then say, what do we have to stop doing in order to make room to do these things that we know are so important? So if I'm going to make those calls, Amy, that you talked about, we're going to split up that list of our top, let's say top 20% of the clients, because if you follow Pareto's rule, the 80-20 rule, 20% of your clients produce 80% of your revenue. So if we just split up the 20% of the clients and call them about this PPP2, if we don't have space to do that right now, what are we going to not do so we can do it? Because otherwise, your competitors are sending, social media messages, email messages, postcards, webinar invitations, inviting your top 20% of your clients to learn about PPP2 from them. And if you're not somehow, really cementing that, you put your clients at risk. So I think that we really have to be merciless in our saying no or not anymore this year.
Agreed. And what's in line with our value system. So when we feel like we're going off of what feels good, I love that your daughter just commented in, because, a lot of times when we add, it's important what you're saying is saying no, so we don't add PPP2 and then keep doing everything we've already done and then not have time to be with our children or our spouses or partners or friends, whatever that is, that fills our cup.
Yes.
And that our staff needs as well to keep their energy up, because this is a really important time that we're not going to lose staff during busy season, but also as we get through this next phase, because everyone's tired. This has been nonstop. There's been very little time to take normal time off and kind of refuel. And we don't want to put those things on somebody else that's already got a full plate. So we have to figure out how to clear as a leader. It's, about ourselves and the people that we lead, how we're going to clear their plates so it's available. And I would say the second thing that's really important when we talk about being proactive with clients and something like this, so webinars are great. It's a great way to get information out. But with our clients, we need to do some prep work before calling them, of letting them know you are qualified, you are not qualified, because there's very specific answers to this right now of who's qualified or not. And so if you can already show them, look, we reviewed your business and we, collected information to make sure that you're on track with this. We know your SBA loan number from before. Do the little things that they're like, wow, I can't believe you went and actually researched that for me so that I could just have some peace of mind and know. And if I'm not eligible, what do I need to do right now based on the eligibility requirements so that I stay in business if I was really looking forward to that next lot of money. I know, for my yoga business, I qualify, but I was, looking at it and I was like, yeah, but it's going to be a lot less because my payroll went down. So people have to understand it's not the same amount of money that you got last time.
Unless your payroll stayed the same.
Unless your payroll stayed the same.
Or went up.
Yeah.
Right.
But, for many people, and if your payroll went up, you probably aren't qualified because your business is doing, better.
Well, it's hard to say though, because I'm not a PPP expert, but you have to essentially have one quarter last year, quarter 2, 3, maybe it's all 4 quarters are qualified, but any of the quarters, if it was 25% down in gross receipts, then you qualify. So you could have had like a horrible second quarter, and then you started to do a little better in the third and fourth quarter, and you hired somebody. So it could go up, or you maybe felt like you could brave some salary increases where you didn't do them in the first half of the year, but you felt like you could at the end, or something like that. That might actually elevate your payroll costs. But qualifying, that's key. And not every firm has their clients' financial statements, does the financial statements or has them and has the quarterly data. So we don't know until we get in there with the client. But I do agree that thinking about how can we be of service here? How can we save this person as much time as possible? And how can we let them down if they're not going to qualify so that they don't feel like, we just didn't call them at all or didn't notify them at all, or, silence falls. And then they think my provider didn't even bother to update me.
But if you don't know, I mean, I still think this is a lesson on being an advisor, is that through this, you should have seen the importance of being on cloud technology and being interactive and monthly with your clients, that you can jump on a dashboard at any time and make sure that you're keeping up with where their numbers are. This was the time for advisory services, if anything, to prove the importance of it, of staying in line with your client.
Yes.
So if you didn't learn that, then this is the time in your strategic vision to think about how you're going to stay up to date with your client real time and not be so dependent on requesting information and so forth with them, that you have access at your fingertips because you are proactive and a part of their business year round.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to shift us a little bit because I'm on the same page with you about this advisor thing. And there's, we learned all about how important it is to be an advisor last March when this whole pandemic hit. And we already knew it, some of us, and we're working toward it. I realize that, but boy, did we see how much our clients need us and how much more we can deliver beyond the compliance deliverables. But I'm going to shift us from that for a second, because I don't want to leave today without saying one of the possible 3 things in your vision should be about wellness, and in particular, mental health. And I know we touched on it last year, but I've had some people in my life really struggle in the last 6 weeks, let's say, with wellness in general, but also some friends with some mental health challenges, some real breaking points for some people. And I want firms to really pay attention to what your people are doing and how they're doing, and, keep those touch points going. I know that, we were really close to our people and touched them frequently remotely and had all these check-ins the first half of last year. Then that fell off, and we encouraged you as fall came to get back in there. Well, 2021, stay right next to your people, please, and look for warning signs. Performance falls off. They aren't as put together as they normally seem like they were. They really seem sad, or, sort of constantly focusing on the negative for multiple weeks in a row. They're just not the same as they were. You've got to step in there and try to help them and offer help, offer an employee assistance program, offer, that they should get some counseling. I'm really concerned about some of the people that I've encountered, and the isolation is getting people, and the anxiety is getting people, and then maybe being trapped with if they're not isolated, they're the opposite. They have cabin fever with too many people stuck in their house. And we're just starting to see some fraying at the edges, and we're going into a peak season for a lot of firms. And that's not a good marriage. And so stopping and really assessing the people, not ignoring it. I think we want to just think, well, that's their personal life, and maybe I'm misreading the signals. And, we say all that stuff to ourselves to keep from checking in and saying, how are you really? And how can I help you? What can I take off your plate? What are you worried about as we go into the peak season here? Asking questions that I know you don't want to ask because you don't like the answers. But if we don't ask them, we're going to have some people, possibly fall down on the job, and you'll be surprised later. And it could have been avoided potentially.
Yeah, I would just add to that not everybody's good at having those conversations, right? And to be really honest, if you're not good at it. So one problem I see a lot of times with leaders is they feel they have to be everything. And when there's always new, when there's new things coming, whether it be, business initiatives or something that's people focused like this is where, when we talk about generous leadership, this is when we get really honest with ourselves of what we're good at and what we're not good at. Yes. That is showing good leadership, and making sure we assign it to the right people to talk to those people. So if a conversation seems off and you're like, yeah, that's not me to go ask them, is everything okay? Then you go ping the person and say, you know what, I had this conversation and something seemed off. Would you mind connecting with them and just see if you can find out if everything's okay? And that is still leadership.
Yes.
And it is still being the best person you can be to understand where your good points are. And secondly, I would say that sometimes these conversations are a one and done thing. Like, I get asked to speak all the time about this, but then it's not a continuation.
Right.
And it's a really important thing to think about as you're putting learning and development into your firm this year, that you think about it as a series, not a, well, if
right.
you remember to meditate, or
an event. An event? Is it an event or a series or a
And
program?
It doesn't always have to be CPE, right? Like
right.
These are things that are helping us be better humans, better interact, and show that we are nurturing our staff and the people around us and even ourselves. I mean, we've got to admit when we're feeling off as well. So I would just add to that this is such an important topic going into this year. There's so much going on in the world. I think for some reason people are like, well, we get to 2021, this will all be over. And it's going to be a while, right? But, but putting these things in place are really important, and making sure you identify the people in your firm or maybe outside of your firm that can be mentors and have that assistance available for the people that need it.
Yeah. And I went to a happy hour this week, and, people are like dread happy hours, for, remote virtual happy hours. And we use breakout rooms on Zoom. We had the best time with these people. It was a firm, and their senior leaders all came. Their executive board was there. We mixed them up with a bunch of young people, and we gave them a bunch of prompts, and we gave them about 12 minutes in one group, and then we shifted them to another group. Gosh, we laughed a lot. There were so many smiles. It was so, I felt so uplifted when I left, and I know they did too. I mean, just looking at their faces, it was amazing. And that same firm has been doing a speaker series, kind of a Get Better speaker series. That's not necessarily CPE, it could be, but they, the COO said the other day, maybe we should be bringing in a comedian. Maybe we need to laugh more, and I just thought, yes, we need to laugh more. And it made me think, maybe my husband and I, Brian and I, we need to watch a stupid comedy.
Oh, that's what I've been doing.
I have not been watching any comedy.
Grace and Frankie.
I've been watching dark and not watching much. I've been watching this laptop. Just to go through the top 100 silliest movies ever, over the course of one movie a week or something, and just make that a goal for this year. And I'm going to think about that seriously, because I do think that we need some levity. And, because there's a lot of still sketchy stuff, and it could rattle us. And I really encourage all of us to think about what are we doing there on the mental wellness, physical wellness, but also maybe some fun. And some planned fun, and don't say you're too busy, and that because it's peak season.
I feel guilty for doing.
Yeah, no.
I have discovered my couch, and I'm very happy with it. I hadn't sat on my couch for years, so it's a good.
Yeah, no, my couch and I don't know my couch, but I'm, I want to discover fun in other ways. I did hiking over the break. I hiked like crazy, and we went to 3 national parks. We road tripped, and, so, I'm finding fun, but that's what we have to do too for our firms. Don't be too busy to have fun, personally and individually, but also those of you who are firm leaders, make sure there is some real fun planned every week through this peak season, because that'll keep us remembering the good stuff while we're dealing with some kind of overwhelming
stuff.
Can
I just add to that fun doesn't mean you have to plan it together.
No.
Because everyone doesn't necessarily think the same things are fun. So you can have challenges where everybody reports back the things they did for fun.
I love
put it in Slack, or have a subject, a chance in Slack or Teams about social challenges and things like that.
Yeah.
But, when we start forcing fun sometimes, then it's like, oh, this is like another thing I have to go to and so forth. So there, like,
I love that.
a balance, right?
I do. I love it. And I'm 1 year, and I don't remember. I'm going to say it's 2017. Could be 18, but I went on a joy journey. One of my words was joy. And so I looked for joy in everything I did, but I also intentionally like made joy happen every week, things that give me joy. And I tracked it, and I wrote about it on a quarterly basis to say, here's all the stuff I did, live music and, the things then you could do that give me joy. But, so yes, I agree with you. Like that idea of a challenge is brilliant. I love it. That you could say, hey, we're going to, have a joy journey challenge. You have to start figuring out what things give me joy and schedule at least one a week and track it, turn it in, and we're going to pay you a bonus or give you a gift card or whatever when you can show that demonstrate. That's so smart, Amy. I love it. Well, we're way past time. Okay. Yeah. So obviously we had some pent up things we needed to talk about, and I'm sure we've only unloaded a few of them. We'll be back next Friday for Leadership Lunch Chat at 12 noon Eastern. So please join us. Please connect with us and let us know what things you want to talk about. Further these conversations in social media for us. Help us expand our audience. We would really appreciate it. If you think it's worthwhile, we love it when you forward our stuff out into the world. And thank you, Amy. I'm so glad to be back with you. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Yes, take care.